Hi everybody. It's really late when I'm making this video, uh, and I'm sure I look it, but I thought it was important that I get this done for you. Um, so yesterday's video was about doing good discussion board posts, and that tied into doing good summaries. And I think hopefully if you watch that video, you got a good sense of what goes into a good summary. And I kind of wanted to extend that conversation a little bit by talking about putting essays or texts or videos or whatever material you're going to use in your research projects in conversation with each other. Because that's really how writing about research works. You don't really write about things in isolation, you talk about them like it's a dinner party and somebody has an opinion about, for instance, whether or not Ohio State is a really great football team. And there will be people at that table, say from Michigan, who don't think that they're such a great football team, and they're going to give you their reason why. And then there's probably somebody from Penn State or from Texas and A&M who has another opinion about whether or not OSU is really a great football team. I'm sure you've been part of these conversations or at least witnessed them if you go to Ohio State or have lived in Ohio for any extended period of time. So writing about research is very similar to sort of a great big dinner party where everybody's talking about the same topic and putting in their own opinions. And so what I want to talk a little bit about today, and what I hope will be a very short video, is kind of how to do that. So, when we're putting arguments in conversation with each other, we want to think about and respect the arguments of each individual text. I think sometimes it's really easy when you have a number of articles or a number of sources that you're working with to kind of lump them all together and ignore the nuances or the individual details of an argument that make them unique. And that's actually a really important skill, and it's a really important and respectful way to read somebody else's argument. But when you put them into conversation, what you're really trying to do is look for connection and separation. And I think a lot of people talk about this as compare and contrast, but that's too simplistic. I think you have to see the ways that the arguments connect with each other. So, do they use similar evidence, similar kinds of evidence? Do they operate with the same fundamental beliefs about a particular idea? So, the premises. Do they seem to share a similar bias, either for or against the subject that they're talking about? If you can identify those things, you can identify the ways those arguments connect while still respecting how they are different. And of course, it's important to identify the ways those arguments are different. How do they not connect with each other? But it's really, you're looking at the same kinds of things. How is the evidence different? How are the premises different? How are the biases different? I've just given you sort of three ways things might be different, but these are things to consider. Once you sort of have a sense of that, so again, going back to our original talk about summary, you need to have read these things and have taken notes and really have started to think about it. You need to start to find the language to express these similarities and these differences. And that's what I want to really spend the rest of our time in this video talking about. Um, when you are summarizing somebody's argument, either alone or in conversation with somebody else, it's really important to introduce summaries in ways that avoid kind of languages like she says or she believes or they believe. Who is they, right? So, really, to be respectful of what the authors are saying, you want to use really precise language to introduce that information. And those are called signal verbs. So what I've done here is just put together a bunch of different kinds of verbs. This actually comes from the book They Say, I Say, Chapter 2, The Art of Summarizing, actually. And when you're doing this for the discussion board post, I've actually created a Google Doc so you don't have to reopen this video. You can just go to the Google Doc and it's just a list of these verbs. So these are verbs for making a claim. So you can say somebody argues, they assert, they claim, they emphasize. Oh, I repeated that, sorry. They believe, they claim, they insist, they observe, they remind, they report, they suggest. So those are all ways that we can identify what the author is trying to do, how they essentially are trying to make their argument. When you're talking about articles in comparison with each other, sometimes what you want to do is talk about how they agree. So here's a list of verbs for how things can agree with each other. They can acknowledge, admire, agree, endorse, extol, celebrate the fact that, corroborate, do not deny. I don't know why you'd use an opposite. Support, reaffirm, verify. And then, of course, there are verbs for when things don't connect with each other. And it's good to think about these verbs not just in terms of articles in conversation with each other, but your opinion of those articles. So complain, complicate, contend, contradict, deny, deplore the tendency, that's kind of silly, to qualify, question, refute, reject, renounce, and repudiate. These are just examples of these verbs, but they're really good ones, and they are not they say or they believe, right? And then a verb for making recommendations. Does the author advocate or call for or demand or implore or plead or recommend or urge or exhort or warn? And that's it. So for this discussion board, what I'm asking you to do is to take the reading for the 24th and compare it to the reading for the 23rd. I do have one last thing to say, and I'm actually going to put this in an email to everybody. I'm noticing that I've gotten a lot of questions about late work, and I've gotten a lot of questions about, or not questions that I haven't heard from everybody in the class even. So I just want to say this is a 4-week class, and I am asking you to do a lot of work, and I'm asking you to do it every day. Over the next 2 weeks, when we're in the middle of the holiday season, I can be laid back. For instance, if folks can get these 2 discussion board posts done by, say, next week, I'll be okay with that. But after the holiday, I really do expect people to kind of buckle down and get this work done. It's really hard to teach into the void when you're teaching asynchronously. So if I didn't hear from you, I have no idea what you're actually learning. So I know it's a holiday. I know everybody would like a break. I would too. But you signed up for this class, and I'm obligated to teach you, and it is my true hope that you will try and learn some stuff. So like I said, I'm going to put this in the email, but I just wanted to say it out loud to you, almost face to face. I hope you're well, and you're not going to hear from me until after Christmas. And so if you celebrate Christmas, I wish you a very happy one. And wherever you are and whoever you're celebrating with, I hope you're cozy and enjoying yourself. So take care, and I'll talk to you again next week.